In this lecture, let us try to create a line chart using the techniques we have seen till now. In all the previous lectures, we have been creating bar charts, either horizontal bar chart or vertical bar chart. So in this lecture, let us try to create a line chart, and we are actually trying to display two lines in the same line chart. So we are going to use the same values, that is the points that we have seen in the previous lecture. Let me just change the title to line graph or line chart, both are the same, and let me make some changes to the code. So for points, I am going to use this one, that is 0, 20, 100, 250, 260, 90 up to 450, 140. So let me remove this part, that is the extra points. And for this, let me change the name as where points 1 and this as points 2. And for this, I am going to use x100 by 100 up to x500 by 250. I am not going to use these values. So let me remove this as well and uncomment this and this as well. And here I am specifying the width and height as 600 and 500. Then the code for SVG. Okay. Next, for points 1 and points 2, I want to display two separate lines. So let me remove this comment and make it as where line 1, which we will use for points 1. Okay. And let me remove this line of code and let me have where line 2. Hope you understand what I am trying to do here. I am just trying to use the same code that we have developed in the previous lecture to display the line chart as well. So this is line 2 and d3 dot line x and y axis are functions. Let me remove this. Now let me remove this. I don't want this. And here how we should make the change? We can specify svg dot append path attr of d line 1 with points 1, right? So I can make it points 1 and let me copy this and paste it here and change this to line 2 points 2. Let me save this and check the output. See, now two lines are displayed actually, but they are displayed in the same color. So what we can do here, instead of specifying the color here, we can specify it individually. Let me change this to 3 because the lines are very thick now. Now to specify the colors for these two individually, I can specify style, the value of stroke. For the first one, let me specify the value as deep pink. And for the second one, let me copy this and paste it here and change the color to indigo. Let me save this and see. This is how now we are seeing the output. So this is the second line and this is the first line. For the first one, the points are 0, 20, 100, 250. That is 0, 20 is this point, 100, 250 is this point. Then we have 260, 90, 450, 40. So this is 260, 90, 450, 40 and last point is 450, 140. That is 450, 140. Then for the second one, it is 100, 100. So this is the point 100, 100 and it goes like this. So here we are going to display this as a line chart. So line chart means we need to have an x and y axis and we will display the lines within that, right? So let us try to do that. First we need to have x scale and y scale. Let me use linear scale for both. So let me specify where x scale equals d3 dot scale linear, that is for linear scale. Then I need to specify domain and range. So here I am hard coding the values, as in this lecture we want to concentrate on creating line charts, not on the concept of scales, right? So here let me specify the minimum as 0 and the maximum as, what is the maximum of x value? 0, 100, 260, 450 is there and here 500 is there. So let me specify the maximum as 500. Okay, and we need to specify range as well. So dot range within square brackets, let the minimum be 0 itself and maximum is the width of the SVG. So let me specify maximum as width. Then we need to create Y scale. So Y scale equals, again I'm going to create a linear scale for this. So scale linear, then I need to specify the domain. So dot domain. What is the maximum of Y here? 2250. Then here 260, 460, 250. So 460 is the maximum. So let me specify 500 as the maximum for that as well. That is 0, 500. And then for the range, how we should specify? We need to specify height, 0. Then only the 0 of the y-axis will be displayed at the bottom of the SVG. So if we specify 0, height, it will be displayed in the reverse order, right? That is why I have specified height, 0. Then we need to define the x-axis and y-axis. So let me specify where x-axis equals d3 dot. We want to use a bottom scale for x-axis, right? So I can specify axis bottom of x scale. Then where y-axis equals, it should be a left axis. So axis left of Y scale. Next, what should we do? We need to append a G element to the SVG and then done the transformation for the bottom axis and then call the x-axis. For y-axis, we don't have to do any transformation. We just have to append a G element and then call the y-axis. So let me do that. Let me specify SVG dot append G. Then I'm first calling the x-axis. So I have to specify attr transform, translate. Then it should be translated 0, height, right? It should be moved to the bottom. So I need to end this and start a double quotes here. And then I need to put a plus. And within this, I need to specify height. Then finally, we need to call the x-axis. So call x-axis. Then again, we need to call the y-axis. So for that, svg dot append G. Then we just have to call y-axis. Now, will this display the line chart correctly? We will have the x-axis and y-axis, but the lines will not be drawn correctly. Let me show you that. Let me save this and show you. Okay, here we are now not able to see the ticks and text values, right? Why? Because we haven't added any padding for our SVG. So here, after adding the style, let me add a padding also. So dot style padding. Let me set the value as say 40 and see the change. See, now we are seeing the x-axis and y-axis and we are also seeing the lines. But are these points are correct? Let me show you. This point is 0, 20. That is the deep pink lines. First point is 0, 20. So where it should be displayed? It should be displayed somewhere here, right? 0 means this is the point. 20 means it will be somewhere here. But now the lines are displayed, but they are not actually displayed with respect to the axis. They are just displayed as before itself, but the points are not displayed correctly, right? When we specify a value like 50, 50, it should be here. It should not be displayed somewhere within the line chart. So we need to make some modifications so that these points are displayed with respect to the axis. So before that, when we have specified path, fill, none and stroke width 3 here, this stroke width is applied to the x and y axis line. Why? I will show you that. If you go to developer tools, if you just expand this, this is the main SVG. This is the x-axis and this is actually a path, right? We have discussed it in the axis section. So as we have specified stroke width for path, this and this lines are considered as path. So what we can do here is that when we specify this, we can have an attribute dot attr class as line. So here we are actually adding the class name line to this one. Let me copy this and add it for the second line as well. that is for here, and here instead of path, let me make it dot line, because here we are accessing it using its class name line. Now let me save this. See, now these two lines are now shown as usual, that is without any thickness. Now what we need to do, we actually need to adjust the position or these points with respect to the axis. So what we can do for that, here it is easy. For this we can specify x scale of d dot x, which means it will be made with respect to the scale, and here it should be y scale of d dot y. So before saving this, let me show you the output. We have made the change to this second line. Now it is displayed like this. Here the points are not correctly displayed. Now let me save this and show you the change. Save. See, now the direction of this second line is changed, right? Now let us check this with the points. This is, the first point is 100, 100. If you could check it here, this is 100 and this is also 100, which means the first point is correctly displayed, 100, 100. Next, the second point is 130, 260. The value of x is 130. That is why it is slightly moved from here, and y is 260. That is why it is displayed here. Then the next point is 300, 460. If you see this, if you draw a straight line from here to here, it is 300 and it is slightly up than 450. That is 300, 460. Then the last point is 500, 250. That is this one. So it is at the intersection of this point, that is 500, and also of this point, which is 250. So you could see that this line is now displayed correctly with respect to the values displayed in the axis, which means with respect to the x and y scales. Now the second point is not displayed correctly even now, right? The first point is somewhere here, which means the value of x is 0, but the value of y is somewhere between 450 and 500. It is not correct. The first point of the deep pink line is 0, 20. So what we need to do for this as well, we need to make it with respect to the x and y axis. So here how we can access those points. Here it was easy because we had the accessor function x and y, but here those points are not within an object but inside an array. So how we can access these points? Let me write it. After this, let me write as dot x. I can specify function d, and here return x scale of d of 0. Why I have specified d of 0? Because each of these items are considered as d. So this is the first item in the array, which means it will be having index 0. So I can access it using d of 0. If you want to access it, I can specify d of 1. So let me write that as well. Dot y, here function d return y scale of d of 1. Let me close all these brackets and curly braces. Okay. Now the y value is also specified according to y scale. See, now it is displayed like this. Say this point is 0, 20. This is the first point. Then the second point is 100, 250. So this is the second point, which is 100, 250. Then the third point is 260, 90, which is this one, 260 and 90. Then the fourth one is 450, 40 and 450, 140. So this is 450, 40 and this is 450, 140. So if we just add the x-axis and y-axis using x scale and y scale, the line chart will not be displayed correctly with respect to the axis. What we need to do, we need to pass these values, that is x and y values, using the x scale and y scale. Then only they will be displayed correctly. So in this line chart, we have displayed two lines. The first one is using an array of points and the second one is using an array of objects. And here we have made the modification. Instead of specifying d dot x, we have specified d of 0, which means it will return the first item, which is the x coordinate, and to access this we can specify d of 1. So this is a line chart we have created using the concepts of scale, axis and line generator, which we discussed in this section.